Okay, so now we're going to talk about tangent. Now, if you remember from geometry, we had sine, we had cosine, but we also had tangent. Well, the tangent is equal to the sine divided by the cosine of that angle, because we know in the unit circle, because we know that the opposite, the tangent, as we learned it in geometry, the tangent is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Well, if the cosine is the adjacent side, right? And the sine is the opposite side, because remember, it's over 1 in the unit circle. So it's the adjacent side over 1, the opposite side over 1. So we can just put that in its place and say that the sine is, the tangent is equal to the sine divided by the cosine. Okay? So in order to find the exact value of the tangent, we have to divide the sine and the cosine. All right, so here we go. First one we're looking at is the tangent of 60. So first we have to figure out what is the sine and the cosine. So I'm going to go ahead and figure that out first. So I know 60 degrees is in the first quadrant, and I'm going to label my sides. This is radical 3 over 2, and this is 1/2. So I know this point here is 1/2 radical 3 over 2. And remember, this is the cosine and this is the sine. Now, if you didn't want to do it this way, you could just label your sides and say, well, the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent, which would be the same thing. Okay, which would be the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Well, when you divide fractions like that, this is called a complex fraction. Because the denominators are both the same, they divide to 1. Now, just for a further explanation of that, to make sure you're understanding, remember division, this really says the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. That's what the fraction means. Well, how do we divide fractions? We multiply by the reciprocals, and then the 2's are going to cancel out. Okay, so in essence, we just have the square root of 3. So the tangent of 60 degrees is equal to the square root of 3. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at the next one. Okay, the tangent of 150 degrees. Okay, so let's go and see 150 degrees would be in the second quadrant, right? This is 150, this is 180. So when we go ahead and draw our reference triangle, we have a 30-degree angle here. Okay, the 30-degree angle is our reference angle. So that means that opposite the 30 degrees is 1/2, and then opposite the 60 degrees is radical 3 over 2, but in the second quadrant, that's going to be negative. So the coordinate there, that coordinate, is going to be negative radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. Okay, well, because it's the sine divided by the cosine, we're going to have 1/2 divided by radical 3 over 2. Again, the denominators are the same, so they're going to divide to 1, and we end up with 1 over negative square root of 3. Now, we can't leave it that way because we always have to rationalize our denominator. So when we multiply by the square root of 3 over 3, we still have our negative, but now we have the square root of 3 over 3. So our answer, the tangent of 150 degrees, is going to be equal to negative radical 3 over 3. Okay, let's keep going. Now this time we have radians instead of degrees. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to multiply that by 180 over pi to see how many degrees that would be. All right, so the pi's are going to cancel out, and I end up with 120 degrees. So I'm really looking for the tangent of 120. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the reference triangle. So 120 is also in quadrant 2, but this time, since this is 120 and this is 180, my reference angle is 60 degrees. Okay, so here's my radical 3 over 2, and here's my negative 1/2. So it's equal to the opposite over the adjacent, or sine over cosine, okay? And then the 2's are going to cancel out, and that's equal to negative square root 3. So the tangent of 2 pi over 3 equals negative square root 3. Okay, and now 270 doesn't have a reference triangle because remember that's right on the quadrant. That's called the quadrantal angle, right? 270 would end up right here. So in the unit circle, what is that coordinate? Okay, well, if it's just 1 unit away, right, this is -1, it's going to be 0, -1. This is my cosine, and this is my sine. So I'm dividing here my sine by my cosine. Uh-oh, can't divide by 0. Okay, so that means that the tangent of 270 degrees is undefined. Okay, now if you put that in your calculator, the tangent of 270 degrees, you will see that it says cannot divide by 0. Okay, so you can go ahead and do the 4 practice problems, and then you will be done with this lesson. You are very close to completing the whole semester. We're almost done. There's not that much more to go. We're just going to do some graphing after this, some reciprocal angles, and then we're done. Okay, see you later.